Hello and welcome to Doubles and Trebles. A little bit different tonight. I'm on my own doing a Grand Slam review. Decent tournament, really enjoyed it. I think there's only one place to start, and that is with the winner, Michael Smith, who a deserved winner, breaking his losing run in major finals, which stood at 9 going into Sunday's final with Nathan Aspinall. Very much a deserved win, not only in terms of breaking that duck of losing finals, but deserved in terms of this tournament alone. Unbeaten in his group, saw off Rob Cross, Joe Cullen, Barney, and Aspinall in the knockout games, smashing in 180s all over the shop throughout the tournament. He could well break the record actually this year, Michael Smith, for number of 180s hit on the TV in a single year. That's something to keep an eye on with the Worlds coming up. But a quarter final between Smith and Cullen was really good. Smith coming from 15-13 down to win 16-13, um, showing a lot of bottle there, and that's a word that is sometimes wrongly associated with Michael Smith, in my opinion. And then the final itself was a bit of a non-event, really. Smith always in control, averaging significantly more than Aspinall throughout. Smith basically ran away with it in the end, 16-5, kept his composure, got the job done. Aspinall had thrown the towel in at the end. To be fair, it was difficult to watch for Aspinall and probably difficult to experience for him as well. But yeah, Michael Smith, a deserved winner. He's been knocking on the door for a long time. I know we've been saying that, but the difference is in 2022, he's been winning. He's won a couple of Masters events. I think he won the American or the New York Masters or whatever it was earlier in the year. He's won a couple of Pro Tour events, so he has been doing it. This is his first major, definitely. I'm going to come on to the definition of major yet again in terms of the Grand Slam, but taking nothing away from Michael Smith and like I say, a well-deserved win. There were some cracking games throughout the tournament. There really was. Um, Highlight of which would have to be for me Barney, a reinvigorated Barney against Gerwyn Price. Absolutely fantastic game. That was in the quarterfinals. Absolutely vintage Raymond Barneveld. It really was. Remember, he gave up. He had to win his tour card back earlier this year. He's 55 years old, I think now. Barney, he's obviously been working really hard on his game. Did well in the group stages, finishing top of his group there, where he had Price in his group, won all three games, similar to Smith, and then played Gerwyn Price again in the quarterfinals, as does happen in this tournament. Sometimes group you play people in the group and then you come across them again in the quarters. I was going into the Barney versus Price game hoping that Price would pump him. To be fair, I've still not got over Barney's retirement and victory lap a few years ago. It got rather unsavoury, to be honest, towards the end. And as I think the likes of Wayne Mardle say, once you're talking about retirement, you should probably action it, not give a year's notice of your retirement and go on a bit of a farewell tour. It didn't really sit right with me. But yeah, he's come back. He's got himself a new missus that looks half his age. And yeah, he's definitely delivering it on the stage as well. Recently, was a qualifier for this event. Got one of the 8 qualifiers on the last day qualifying event. Barney was one of them. But to be honest, my feelings towards Barney and his retirement were soon forgotten because it was absolutely vintage Barney, scoring, combination finishes, peacocking. He looked to be genuinely enjoying himself. Obviously, the crowd were behind him. Price won the first 5, won 5 on the bounce early doors. He had an 8-3 lead. Then Barney came roaring back to win 6 legs on the bounce to lead 9-8. Like I say, the crowd well and truly on his side. Both were averaging well over 100 after 19 legs played. It was excellent stuff from both. And as Barney kind of hit the front and was nearing the finish line, I had the feeling that Price was going to come back. Price did it in his previous round against Danny Noppert. Noppert was edging in front until Price really powered home to win 10-8 there in the second round. I thought he might do similar against Barney, and he didn't. Barney won 11 of 13 legs at one stage. He had a 14-10 lead, and that just showed too much really for Price to bridge that gap. The gap was too big in the end, and it finished 16-13 to Barney. Price did make a bit of a comeback, but I think Barney took out one of his favourite 96ers, and that kind of put an end to that. And on to the semi-finals, Barney went where he did come up short against the eventual champion Michael Smith. But yeah, really enjoyable game. The other really enjoyable game, and probably, well, without question, the most talked about second round game was Josh Rock against Michael Van Gerwen. Oh my word, I did a separate video on this last week. The game of round two, without any question, it got the build up from Sky and fans alike, and it delivered. Um, I mean, Josh Rock he hit 180 in the first leg. I think there was two. There was a 180 from both of them in the first leg. Josh Rock hit a 9-darter in the second leg, busted up his ankle celebrating, was limping thereafter. It was just fantastic. They was both averaging well over 100 until well, the whole game. Van Gerwen finished. He finished 10-8 in the end, just showing his class towards the end, and fair play to him. He averaged 107. Van Gerwen in winning 10-8. Josh Rock averaging 103. Van Gerwen, the performance really of the whole tournament with that average over 18 legs, it was sensational. I thought Josh Rock looked nervous in his group games. He had to rely on results on the final night really to get through. He beat Luke Humphries from behind on the final night to get through his group in second, and we had the match that many of us were anticipating against Van Gerwen. It was fantastic. One thing to note really about Van Gerwen, he was very. It was like the Master and the Apprentice, very businesslike from Van Gerwen. Didn't really celebrate until the last dart was thrown. Didn't get embroiled with Rock, particularly when the crowd were going wild with that 9-darter in just the second leg. All business. Rock kept up to it. He could have been put off by Van Gerwen generally and the aura around him. He could have been put off by the 9-darter and the ankle that he hurt. He wasn't, and he continued all the way through, just coming up short 10-8, but averaging nearly 104 against Van Gerwen over 18 legs. Josh Rock can do it. He's a big threat. We could get a repeat actually this weekend in the Players' Championship. Van Gerwen and Rock could well face each other again in the second round there. But hats off, Van Gerwen. A really good performance from him to get through that. And then he came up short against Luke Humphries. It won't be the first time we've said that, but in the quarterfinals, Humphries done him 16-10. He just looked a shadow of the player that we saw in the second round, Van Gerwen. And there is players like Humphries who have got a decent record against Van Gerwen, particularly on TV, and they don't fear him anymore. That's been the case for a while because the standard is always rising in behind those top two or three. But yeah, it's interesting, and Van Gerwen finds himself favourite for this week's Players' Championship and the World Championships as well. But yeah, he's got some people don't hold any fear for him. But yeah, really, really good game, and there was some good games throughout. I've mentioned Smith and Cullen. Alan Soutar deserves a mention. He went on a run. He was best performance from him that we've seen on stage. Aspinall, we know how much I like him. Made the final, just grinded away really throughout. Aspinall 97, 95, 96, and then he unfortunately didn't show up in the final. But as Michael Smith has shown, I know Aspinall is a major winner, UK Open winner. That was a while ago, to be fair. As Michael Smith shown, it don't really, you shouldn't be put off by it. If you're making finals, you're playing well. If you lose in the final, come again and come again, and that's what Aspinall's going to have to do. I know we flagged in the earlier video, in our preview video, about the qualification for this tournament, the Grand Slam. The round robin part of this tournament, it didn't feel like a major to me. I mean, some people who are qualifying for it, I know the PDC have got problems because this is used to get some qualifiers from the BDO, and they've had to reshuffle it over the last couple of years. But some of the qualification spots that are on hand here, the runner-up of the World U final gets a spot, went out in the group here. 5 of the 8 final day qualifiers went out in the group stages. Not terrible, but that is the fact. Should the runners-up, for example, runners-up of the World Cup of Darts, that's 2 of them, the World Series of Darts final, even the Premier League runner-up get a automatic spot in the Grand Slam? Not for me. All those ones mentioned, plus the runner-up in the Masters, they're all non-ranking events in their own right, and they're basically invitationals, really. And you're getting people to get a spot in this so-called major that's the Grand Slam. Luckily enough, none of the crap, because I did describe it as crap before, and none of the crap really made it through to the knockout stages. So when we got to the knockout stages, it did feel like a proper tournament, as all the names I've just mentioned there. But I just really, we've got James Wade, Jose de Souza, who won this tournament a couple of years ago, Dimitri Vandenberg sitting at home, whilst Leonard Gates is averaging 79 and Lisa Ashton is averaging 77. That brings us on to the ladies and the lady on screen. I mean, Fallon Sherrock and Lisa Ashton didn't win a game between them. That's the fact. There's 4 years and 12 games in this tournament for Lisa Ashton without a win. Now, she did play well, actually. Lisa Ashton, to be fair, played significantly better than Fallon Sherrock, in my opinion. But neither of them won a game. And the week leading up to the Grand Slam, just hours before the Grand Slam started, Fallon's out there putting out statements before the Grand Slam saying she's getting hate. Now, I think that was aimed at fellow players rather than fans or idiots like me on Twitter. But this is a player that's been gifted more opportunities than anyone I can remember in the history of darts, some of which you could argue well deserved. She's been on the world tour this year to America and Australia. They're invitational events. She was lucky enough to get an invite. But, you know, I don't care if you're a man, woman, cat, or dog. If you can throw darts and you are good enough, you can play. Good luck to you. It doesn't matter to me. But the facts are that Fallon Sherrock has never won a professional tour card. I think she's had 2 or maybe even 3 attempts. She's never had a tour card. Lisa Ashton, to her defence, has, not at the moment, but has previously. Fallon's never qualified for the World Championships through the open route. And coming into the Grand Slam, in her last 6 TV matches against the boys, had an average of 81.67 across those 6 games. It's not hateful to say that that isn't good enough. It's not good enough, and so it proved that way. 3 Grand Slam defeats this year for Fallon. She won a total of 4 legs in the 3 games. You can't get away from the fact that she was fantastic when truly breaking that glass ceiling in the Worlds nearly 3 years ago, beating Ted Everts, Mensur Suljovic at the Worlds. Coverage worldwide of darts, brilliant, absolutely amazing. But since then, particularly against the men in open tournaments, other than she went on a run at the Grand Slam last year, she's done virtually nothing, Fallon Sherrock, to be honest, as exampled by that 81.67 average in 6 games in invitational events on the TV in the lead up to this tournament. I mean, all of that really, I'm sorry, is before we mention or before we even get onto the backdoor entry that Fallon, since the Grand Slam has concluded, has received for the World Championship this year. Maybe that's one for another video when I've got Pyman on to balance the argument, as it were. But it's a definite talking point, and yeah, it's just a shame really that it's a talking point, and you get called a hater if you bring it up. But I don't think it's good enough, me personally. But we'll see. Hopefully, Bo Greaves. Pyman did a video on her the other week. Hopefully, Bo Greaves goes to the World and rips it up, because she can. She's got the averages and the scoring to do it. Not the experience yet, but I hope she goes and rips it up, because, as I say, I don't care what you are. If you're good enough, you can. If you're good enough to win, on you go. Anyway, plenty of darts content. Just a solo from me tonight, and we'll be back more soon. So thanks for watching. Speak soon.